All right, welcome to a new episode of the MIA All Day podcast. I am your host, Carlos Ledo. Hopefully this microphone is picking all this stuff up, and we are doing this professionally. Although this is my first time doing this solo here on the YouTube. You guys have seen me on Manny Navarro's channel, the Manny Navarro Wide Right YouTube channel, where we've done some of our podcasts. We've recorded them on YouTube, on Zoom, and then processed them and put them on YouTube, uploaded them, and companion as a companion episode to the regular podcast that we're doing on Wide Right together. So I thought, you know what, since apparently you guys like seeing this pretty face, or at least Manny's for the most part, and then some of mine, from the response we're getting from the YouTube views, I decided why not jump on YouTube and start doing the same thing that I'm doing with Manny, whereas we're recording the pod episode and then throwing it on the pod for audio download consumption, if you will, while also putting this up on YouTube and trying to get some more interaction from you guys. Now you can leave me comments on the YouTube. That sounded like I was 175 years old, and I'm not proud of that. So I'm sorry. Forgive me, everyone. Also, my mustache is a little crooked. I did not shave that properly, but hey, who cares? Listen, I will get my Just for Men on next week. Did not have time this week. Don't plan on doing it tomorrow. Don't plan on doing it before the game. But next week I shall be fully Blackbeard the Pirate, just in case for those of you who are wondering who have left me comments in the past. One guy. But anyway. So we're going to do the pod today. We're going to do it like we normally do it, but this time I'm going to be on camera. So you're going to get to see my weird face the entire time. I will try and edit this video afterwards. I have downloaded some video editing software that should be easy enough for me to use. We'll see where I can maybe add some effects, add some other stuff into the video, so it's not just you looking at my face and listening to me talk, so kind of defeats the purpose. But either way, we have the Southern Miss Eagles this week. Saturday, nooner. It's a nooner. It's a hot, high nooner. And oh my God, those of you that are going to the stadium, I feel for you. Like Shaka Khan, I don't wish this upon you. It's going to be smoking hot, man. And, those early tailgates are tough. It's a tough mix with cafecito, rum, and pastelitos. But you got to get through it, man. Let me take a sip of my soda. You got to get through it if you want to go see the Canes at noon. So, gates open 8:30, I assume, 8 o'clock. You guys can roll in there, start the tailgate. I'll be starting the tailgate here at the house early as well. But first, before I get into Southern Miss, I want to talk a little bit about, just very, very briefly, about the Bethune game. I laid out some things in my last podcast that I wanted to see the Hurricanes accomplish in this game. And I think they, for the most part, hit on every one. So I said the Hurricanes, to distinguish themselves from the Manny Diaz era, I wanted to see them start fast, right? I wanted to see them get out and take control of the game early. Defensively, that first drive, that was not the case. As we all know, that first drive was pretty bad. And if it wasn't for, I believe it was a running back from Bethune dropping the ball in the end zone, or tight end actually, on a route that he ran on Wayman Steed, then that would have been, a really bad first drive, giving up a touchdown instead of that field goal. But the team settled down and ended up with a 14-3 first quarter lead. As I said in my podcast last time, during the last 5 innings, or the only 5 innings they'd had up to that point, the first quarter combined score between Bethune and Miami was 24-17. Okay, 24-17 total. I mean, during those five times they've met before, 24-17. So that 14-3 first quarter lead made me feel a lot better. Obviously, the halftime score made me feel even better. And the Hurricanes just continued on rolling at that point. What else did I want to see? I wanted to see the first team offense score on every possession. I felt it was important to see the first team offense dominate, to come out and really take control and show what they're capable of. And they did that. They scored on every drive except for the one where TVD fumbled near the goal line on the bad exchange between him and Jonathan Dennis. But I was impressed. We didn't have any drive killing penalties, didn't have any situations where we got pushed back and had to settle for a field goal. So all in all, the first team offense, second team offense, even the third team offense looked good, looked efficient. I didn't want to see them settling for field goals. They did not. They finished drives with touchdowns. I didn't want to see any procedural penalties, meaning I didn't want to see false starts, illegal motions, things like that would slow them down. And for the most part, they did it. They only had 6 penalties for 48 yards. Didn't commit any back-breaking penalties. The only one that I would say would be the penalty on the kick return by Keyshawn Smith which was just a beautiful, beautiful return by him. Just unfortunate they got called back and he didn't get the credit for it. I wanted to see the offensive and defensive lines dominate. I think we saw that for the most part. I think maybe the defensive line was a little overzealous at times, pushing the pocket, not staying in their lanes on occasion. That's where the quarterbacks got out and they give up a couple runs. Want to see the linebackers flowing to the ball. They did some of that. They did flow to the ball better, I think, than they showed last year. But again, you have to consider the opponent. I do think Corey Flagg was still pretty bad in pass coverage. He was still a little slow getting to the ball. He does look better as a blitzer, as I've said in the past. But to me, Caleb Johnson, when he was in there, looked a lot more athletic. He doesn't look like he's comfortable with the defense yet, but he will be. And once that happens, I think, Corey Flagg might be taking a step back there. Wayman Steed is, he is who he is. He's average. He hasn't changed. He's okay. He's solid at times, but for the most part, he's not going to wow you. So you would hope that either Keontre Smith or maybe Wesley Bassane are able to pick up their games and maybe Bassane for the second half of the season can end up starting or being a guy that contributes enough to make up for the deficiencies there. I said I wanted to see the young safeties pop. We got to see that, got to see James Williams all over the field with a pick. Got to see Cam Kitchens all over the field get a pick. And then the one that disappointed a little bit was Avante Williams. Didn't get a whole lot of snaps. I think it was 14 total snaps for him. Didn't make any plays when he was in there, missed a tackle, didn't really have a good pass coverage grade. So it's interesting to see what happens with him moving forward. And it was interesting for me to see that Al Blades got more snaps than he did. I wanted to see Jake Garcia operate the offense efficiently because he had some struggles during the spring and now during fall camp. It seems that he really picked it up here in the second half of the of fall camp and did a great job operating the offense. It's good to see Jake get out there and be efficient. It's good to see him be out there and get out there and be efficient. It was concerning for me that maybe this wasn't the right offense for him because he's run RPO most of his life and the spread and all that stuff. He might not be able to adjust, but it looks like he had a good command of the offense this past week. Wanted to see the running backs get chunk yardage and average over 6 yards a carry. Definitely got that. They averaged over 7. All the backs look good that were in there, including the walk-ons, believe it or not. Wanted to see the difference in pace. Definitely a slower pace for the Canes, even though they had the ball a lot. They only ran 67 plays, which is below their average last year. We get this opposite. Also told you that we'd probably see the H-backs and tight ends lined up in different spots and at fullback, at wing, and things like that. And we got to see that. So it was nice to see. Although the offense was very vanilla, let's not mistake ourselves. Josh Gaddis kept everything close to the vest. He wasn't going to be popping anything out against Bethune that he didn't need to. He wasn't going to whip anything out that he didn't need to whip out. All right, I'll leave you with that one now. I'll let that hang. Did it again. Sorry. So, essentially, it was a base offense, base defense. You got what you got. You were expecting this with this opponent. Now the level of competition goes up a little bit. It goes up a tick with Southern Miss, a team who was 3-9 last year, 3-9 in the Sun Belt, out of the Sun Belt. They lost last week to Liberty, who's been a solid football team for the last few years under Hugh Freeze. But this is the post-Malik Willis era, so we don't know what we're going to get from Liberty this year. They played 3 quarterbacks. The starter, Charlie Brewer, got out on the field and was promptly hooked pretty early in the game. He only threw 4 passes. In this game, Southern Miss essentially lost their starting quarterback early in the game. He's probably going to be out this game with a concussion. We don't know if that's official yet or not, but it seems like Ty Keys, the starting quarterback for Southern Miss, is going to be out. He was only 4 of 8 for 89 yards and threw 2 picks in that game against Liberty. Did not look good. They actually threw Frank Gore Jr. back there at quarterback in the Wildcat on occasion and let him rip it off 4 times. He was 1 of 4 for 48 yards. Trey Lowe, another guy they threw back there, he went 0 for 1. But the story here is Frank Gore Jr. He had 32 carries, 178 yards, averaged 5.6 per carry, 2 touchdowns. He is their workhorse. They're going to run him. They're going to run through him. That's going to be the cornerstone of their offense. I think this week, in terms of quarterback play, if their starting quarterback Ty Keys is out, I believe you may see their backup quarterback, their third string quarterback. He's a freshman, true freshman, Zach Wilkie, highly recruited for them. They feel really good about this guy, from what I've heard. So your boy did some research. Okay, I'm not gonna pat myself on the back, but I listened to some Southern Miss sports talk on YouTube. Yes, it was rough. Got through some of those shows, listened to some of the preseason predictions for them, listened to what they thought about the game last week. And it seems to me like some of them are expecting Zach Wilkie to get in there and be the starter this week and get some more run. If not, we're going to see a lot more. We saw, at the end against Liberty, a lot of Wildcat stuff, a lot of stuff where they're not throwing the ball downfield. So that's going to hinder them offensively. It's going to make them one-sided. Their running game, they like to use a lot of different formations, but they'll be in some stuff that looks like, wing T based, double wing based, where you'll get some option look, like some RB Navy option motion into the backfield from a wing back, and they'll do some option looks. But mainly it's just to get the ball to Frank Gore, what they call a belly play, where the quarterback reverses out, the play side guard pulls and leads him through the hole. They'll run some more wing T concepts. They'll run counter with their guard and H-back. They'll run trap. They'll run different things in the run game. So their running game is not a zone-based running game. It's not just zone read, although they'll throw some of that at you. They are throwing a lot of different run concepts at you, whether it's power, gap, zone off, gap, or zone type runs. So it's different things that the defense has to prepare for. Now, their offensive line is terrible. Just gonna put it out there. Straight faced, they're terrible. And the Barkley boys, terrible. So their starting offensive line, their run grades, their average run blocking grade on Pro Football Focus. Again, this is not the end all be all, but this is a pretty good measure of what's going on. Their average run blocking grade was a 58.46. 60 is average. If you're down at 60, to me, it's a little below average. They suck. Okay. If you're under 60, you suck. 58.46 sucks. Their tight ends averaged a 53 run blocking grade. Their offensive line averaged a 68.6 pass blocking grade. Not bad, not atrocious, but that I would call average. So there are opportunities in this game for the Hurricane defensive line to assert control and show their dominance and show them who's the best, right? Who's the best around? Forgive me. The key here is they are going to run the ball at us at least 40 times, right? They're going to run the ball at the Canes at least 40 times. This team is not a great run blocking team. The defensive line, the key is going to be not pushing past the play, not allowing this offensive line to influence them somewhere and then be trapped or have a counter or a misdirection, catch them off guard. They need to be disciplined. They need to stay in their lanes. They need to play their gaps. If they do that, then they can allow the linebackers to flow to the ball. What you don't want is the defensive line being out of sync with the linebackers, falling for misdirection, going out of their lanes, and now there's gaps created where the linebackers have to now be athletic to fill those gaps, those holes, and make up for the miscommunication up front. What you want is easy plays for the linebackers to make. The defensive line occupies those offensive linemen. They clog up the gaps in the lanes they're supposed to. The back tries to bounce it or tries to move into an area that's already defended by the linebacker, and the linebacker meets them in the hole, and then we gang tack. That's what you want to see, right? There are going to be miscues this game. Just going to let you know. The defensive line will likely get out of their lane every once in a while. They'll get excited. They'll want to make a play. They see something. They want to just attack, and they'll, be undisciplined a little bit sometimes. Not undisciplined, but they'll be over anxious, I'd like to say, because they're still learning the defense. They're still learning where to be, and they're still learning how to play it and how to play in unison with those linebackers and the secondary and their run fits, how that all comes together. So you'll see Frank Gore break one here and there. I don't think we're going to see an 80 or a 90-yard touchdown, 75, 60. I don't think they're going to give up a long touchdown score. I hope not. But Frank Gore Jr. is solid. He's a good back. He's smaller than his dad, but he's shifty and he's quick. Is he his dad? No. No. Listen, if you ever saw his dad in high school and you saw him his freshman year at the University of Miami, that was going to be the greatest back to ever play at UM. That's the greatest high school football player I've ever seen in person live was Frank Gore. Guy was amazing. He was averaging over 250 yards a game. Saw him go over 300 a couple times at Gables, and Gables was terrible. Okay. Back to Southern Miss. So right now their offensive line is bad. The worst one of all, the worst defender here is their guard, number 77, Bolding. He had a 53.6 run blocking grade, below average of the entire offensive line unit, and a 52.9 pass blocking grade, easily the worst. So, 77 is going to have a rough day. Whoever's lining up over 77, look for him because he's probably going to make a play. Last year, their run blocking grade as a team was a 44.92, so they have not been a good run blocking unit for quite some time. So as far as outside of Frank Gore Jr., who do we look to? Well, their top receiver is named Jason Brownlee. Although he only had one catch in week one against Liberty, he was targeted 5 times. This guy is their go-to guy. He is their guy. He had over 600 yards the last 2 seasons, 600 yards each season, and averaged 6.5 touchdowns per year. Okay, so he's got 13 touchdowns in 2 seasons at Southern Miss. Last season, they targeted Jason Brownlee on 30% of their pass attempts. So every time Southern Miss went to throw the ball, 30% of those times, they were going to Jason Brownlee. Okay, so 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Ty Keys, if he's not in, it's going to be a big drop off for them. Who knows what this freshman Zach Wilkie will do, or if they'll have to go with a Wildcat exclusively. Ty Keys was an athletic quarterback from what I was able to see. He can run, but his passing was a little erratic. As I told you, 4 of 8, 2 picks. Their second best receiver is Jacarius Caston. He's a transfer from Hines Community College. He caught the most balls last week, led them in receiving. It was not an impressive number by any means, but he did lead them in receiving. He caught 2 passes for 54 yards. All right. Jason Brownlee caught 1 for 35. There you go. That's the juggernaut of Southern Miss's passing attack last week. The other guy to watch out for, number 17, wide receiver, Latrell Jones. He was the number 1 JUCO wide receiver coming out this past season. They landed him. He did not start. Got some snaps, didn't get a ball thrown his way. Offensively, they are, like I said, a ground-based team. They're going to want to pound and hold and control the ball and hit you on a misdirection with a counter, with a trap, with a belly, get you out of position, and then try and break a long one. They'll try and run some zone read stuff on occasion where the quarterback will keep. They will then try and hit you downfield with a shot when you try to creep up and load the box on. So I think for the Hurricanes defensively, the important thing is going to be, like I said, staying in their gaps up front in the defensive line, holding control of the offensive line, allowing the linebackers to flow to the football, and making sure everybody's in their lanes and their gaps and the right run fits. On the secondary, on the back half of the defense, they should not be fooled. They should not be attacking the line of scrimmage early. They should key and pursue as they're taught. What you don't want is for Southern Miss to come in a Wildcat set or in some sort of a set where they're running a zone read or a fake and have our safeties just come sprinting down the field and trying to attack the football immediately and then getting hit with a play action pass, possibly a double pass, a reverse pass over the top because they've reacted too soon and abandoned their responsibilities. So you want to stay sound. And I think as long as the Hurricanes stay sound, gap sound, run fit sound, stay in their respective lanes, be disciplined in terms of reading their keys, I think they should be able to slow this offense down enough. I don't see Southern Miss scoring more than, the 13 than BCC scored last week. So I think at most Southern Miss gets 13 points this week. I think they hold them under 200 yards rushing. I think they will hold them under 300 yards total offense. I just think that the challenge of Bethune Cookman's athletic quarterbacks and their ability to get to a big time tight end, who's a really good player, who might be an NFL guy, and the receivers was better than Southern Miss's ability to get the ball to their playmakers on the outside is going to be. Just because the issues with the quarterback, they were terrible last year. They're even worse now, having to go down the roster and the depth chart with injuries to their quarterback. All right. Defensively, what are we going to look for here with Southern Miss defensively? Southern Miss, it's going to be a changeup. They run a base 3-3-5 defense. They have 3 defensive linemen, so a nose and 2 interior defensive linemen. They will then play 3 linebackers. They have 2 interior linebackers and a linebacker that they call Jack, the Jack linebacker. That Jack linebacker is sort of their edge rusher, their pass rusher. They'll flip that edge linebacker from side to side. They'll have him lined up mostly right up on the line of scrimmage or a yard off. And that will be number 46, Avery Habis, for the most part, as a starter. But then he'll give way to their backup, Jaleel Clemens, number 8, who is an athletic guy who's a transfer from Memphis. So those 2 guys are their edge guys. And 46 is active. He didn't make that many plays against Liberty. He was active. He was aggressive. He just missed, ran by plays. I think ultimately Clemens to me is the better player. He's a more athletic player. I think as time goes on, they'll eventually just go full on with Clemens. He's a transfer, so he's still getting acclimated and adjusted. So that's probably why they have not made that move yet. Southern Miss missed 14 tackles as a team last week. Not great. not horrible, but not great. The guy that got the most snaps for them was their safety, number 21, Jay Stanley. He played 90 snaps, but on those 90 snaps, he had a 50.5 coverage grade. Not good. So you want to attack this guy in pass coverage. Look for 21 to try and get beat over the top. And if he's supporting in a deep half, deep third, deep quarter rule, the Hurricanes may try and attack him over the top. The other safety, his name is Malik Shorts. He was a leading tackler last week. He had 12 tackles, so he was in there. He likes to stick his nose in it when it comes to run support, when it comes to coming up on passes, when it comes to pursuit. So that could be something the Hurricanes take advantage of. As you know, Josh Gaddis likes to use crossing patterns, play actions, things to make the defense move and react to flow, to action one way and then come back and hit him the other way. I think they'll be able to do that against Malik Shorts. I think Malik Shorts will try and attack and get in the box quickly when he sees some run action, or attack a crossing route when he sees it, and maybe get hit from behind on another route as he attacks the route in front of him. So look for number 9 possibly to be confused in some of the action that Josh Gaddis runs. Their linebackers, number 6, Latrell Jones is a really good linebacker. Had 6 tackles, 2 for loss last week, 1 sack. He was their highest rated defensive player at a 93. His tackle grade was an 81.6. His pass rush grade was a 97. So that's excellent. So he's not only a guy that will be in the box and make plays, but he also will rush the passer and attack. He had 0 missed tackles, and his coverage grade was a 77.3. This to me is their best defensive player. Latrell Jones is athletic. He's tough. He's physical. He has a nose for the football, and he has an athletic ability to be able to chase it down. So watch for him. Another one of their edge guys, number 36, Broderick Lewis. He's a backup. When you see 36 in the game, chances are he's rushing the passer. He played 38 snaps last week. 25 of them were pass rush snaps. Okay, so he came off and pass rushed on 25 of 38 snaps. Look for that guy. Dominic K1, number 6. Dominic K1, also a guy who played a lot of snaps in pass rush. Let me take a look exactly at how that worked out. But for the most part, what you're going to see is those other guys. I think you're going to see more of guys call their name, number 46, Avery Habas. You're going to see a lot of Malik Shorts. You're going to see a lot of Latrell Jones. You're going to see a lot of those guys. Their linebackers can cover. They could drop back, get in the lanes, in their coverage lanes. They're okay. They're not fantastic. I think they'll be a bigger challenge than Bethune's defense and defensive line and linebackers were for 2 reasons. One, I think these guys are bigger and stronger. They may not be as athletic as Bethune in some spots, but they are athletic in that front 7. And the other thing is that because of the 3-3-5, these new angles, these different combinations that they're going to have to use to try and block the scheme now because of the odd front and how they move and how they shift is going to be interesting to see. So we'll see how they play that. Their cornerbacks, starting cornerbacks are 00. Natron Brooks, he's 5'11", 168, tall but skinny, lanky, 79.8 tackle grade last week, 72.2 cover grade. Cam Harrell is the other corner. He's a 5'10", 190 guy, a little stockier, 74.8 tackle grade, 73.1 cover. So their corners are okay. They're not bad. They're decent coverage guys. However, like I said, their safeties, Jay Stanley with that 50.5 coverage grade, and Malik Shorts liking to stick his nose in it. I think there's an opportunity to catch them over the top and play off their nickels and play off the other guys, the other corners, and try and confuse them with the actions. What else? So the Southern Miss Eagles landed 13 transfers. 7 of those guys are in the 2 deep. We discussed some of them. You'll see a few transfers. Most of the transfers they got were from Ole Miss or Mississippi State. So they're bringing in-state guys back to them, giving them an opportunity to play right away. So for me, what am I looking for this week? Well, how does a Hurricane offensive line block this 3-3-5, right? So because of the odd front, because of the 3 linebackers, it's going to be a lot like it was last year against App State. They run a similar defense and similar personnel, but I think Southern Miss is a little bit bigger. What I would say is the difficulty is going to be in identifying the blitzers and identifying the changes. So you can get very exotic with a 3-3-5 by bringing multiple linebackers or dropping defense tackles, dropping defensive linemen, bringing down safeties, rolling in corners. There's different things you could do, and the multiplicity of it, the ability to run different blitz packages and come from different angles, I think is going to be a challenge for the Hurricane offensive line this week. It's going to be nice to see how they step up to that. Let's see what they do. Can they handle these types of exotic blitzes? I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that Southern Miss is putting in this game that they did not run against Liberty. You'll be seeing a lot of different blitzes. You'll be seeing a lot of guys coming from the edge, coming from the middle. You'll see different kind of combo blitzes and dropouts by defensive linemen and linebackers to try and confuse Tyler Van Dyke. Now, the flip side of that is in the run game, which is where I think the Hurricanes are really going to take advantage of. When you're running a 3-3-5, you're not as stout up front, right? You need three monsters up front to really handle when you're running an odd front defense like that, to handle the offensive linemen and then let the other guys flow and make their plays, and you can stunt and move. Southern Miss has some big guys. They came from, their own recruiting and from Mississippi and Mississippi State, from Ole Miss and Mississippi State, to load up that defensive line. They aren't as athletic as ACC defensive tackles, I would say. I think they're okay. They're not great. They're stout. We'll see how they play. But I think in the run game, the Hurricanes can take advantage of this. They're going to, if they block things properly, if they know what they're keying for as they're pulling and moving, they could get some big plays in the run game, because they're going to catch this 3-3-5 out of position, and they're going to they're going to catch these guys having to fill from the secondary and make plays in the run game from the secondary, which is then going to lead to big plays in the pass game. I think the Hurricanes rush for about 275. I think they'll pass for 250. I think that's pretty fair. I'm not going to go crazy. I think 525 total offense is not out of the realm of possibility. That's why I'm saying 275 rushing, 250 passing. I think TVD throws a couple of touchdowns. I think maybe TVD gets sacked one time, because I think he'll get some pressure sometimes from this multiple 3-3-5. I think the offensive line will have a breakdown here or there, and he'll get sacked once. I don't think it's going to be that much. I think they control the Southern Miss offense, the Hurricanes, because of the lack of passing game, and then that's really going to hurt Southern Miss. There's going to be times when maybe they pop a big play here and there because of misdirection, confusion, and just trickerations, let's say. But I think the Hurricanes will be in control of the game. I think the Canes will win 45-13, and that'll be the end of that. So here we go. That was the end of our first YouTube episode. Hopefully I can edit this thing, make it look prettier, and make it more enjoyable. If not, you're just going to be sitting there listening to my voice, and watching my face, which is even worse. So yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the MIA All Day podcast, the MIA All Day podcast. Look us up on Twitter. Look me up on Twitter at Ledo, ELLEDO 1307 on Twitter. Stop by my firm's website. It's ledolegalpro.com. That's my last name, legalpro.com. And check out my wife's Instagram account. It's Love and Light Couture. Love and Light Couture. And that's Couture, COUTURE. On Instagram, she does some great crafts, t-shirts, customized products, some great stuff that she's doing for people for Halloween Horror Nights that's on there now. She's going to start doing some stuff for football season. So she customizes orders. Everything is made to order. The minute you order it, she makes it, and it's customized to whatever your design desires are. So make sure to check her out. So there you go. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Go Canes.